Joining us now, retired U.S. Army General Steph Twitty. He served multiple combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, and prior to his retirement in 2020, he was Deputy Commander of the United States European Command. He's an MSNBC military analyst. Also with us, Nina Khrushcheva. She's the great-granddaughter of former Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev. She is professor of international affairs at the New School and co-author of the book In Putin's Footsteps, searching for the soul of an empire across Russia's 11 time zones.
Professor, thanks so much for being with us. I couldn't help but notice, I'm sure you took note as well, that President Putin was far more subdued in these ceremonies than I think most expected.
Everybody, yes, and it has been actually a big comment that it was very anticlimactic speech. It was a very anticlimactic parade. It was very subdued, and Putin almost seemed, for Putin's standards, almost apologetic. Almost sort of explaining away once again why the war was necessary, but not bombastic as he has been displaying in recent months. And in fact, as you know, a lot of air show was actually canceled in numerous cities, and there've been questions as to why they did. Are they running out of fuel? Do they know? Don't they have enough airplanes anymore? Because I grew up in the Soviet Union. Even in the Soviet Union, bad weather was never, ever an issue for cancellation of a air parade. And now it has been canceled in about 6 or 7 cities due to bad weather. So the message is that the war is going on, but clearly we're not happy the way it's going. We cannot really declare a victory yet.
Professor, in your latest opinion piece entitled The Origins of Putin's Totalitarianism, you write in part this: for Mr. Putin, strengthening the state's security organs seemed like insurance against upheaval like those of 1991, which brought the demise of what he calls historical Russia. And Mr. Putin takes great pride in the stability of the political system he has built. But maintaining that system is different from building it. Mr. Putin's approach to governing his creation is embodied by the amendments passed in the sham constitutional referendum of 2020, which not only give him legal opening to lead for many more years, but also defines the ideal Russian citizen, a patriot loyal to the state above all. Now he, Putin, dictates policy without entertaining alternative views. These new pillars of the apparatus of state control are impersonal entities with singular focus, cleansing the political space of anything anti-Kremlin, now understood as anti-Russian, and punishing those who fail to show sufficient loyalty.
You know, Professor, it's so fascinating. We've been taught a lesson in the most graphic terms over the past 8-9 weeks, something that you know so much better than all of us growing up in the Soviet Union, the blind spots that tyrants always have going into war, the blind spots that autocrats have, because, as you just say in this piece, there is no dissent. Can you explain how not only Russians but Chinese leaders, how the old Soviet Union would look to the United States and look at our dissent as a weakness, the protests as a weakness, and just could never understand, and Putin still cannot understand, how it is that dissent that sharpens the edges of countries and keeps us sharp and keeps us improving ourselves instead of an autocracy where there is no self-criticism.
Well, as Mikhail Gorbachev used to say, in your question, there is an answer. You just answered it so beautifully. It's exactly that. I mean, they don't. Weak states have weak liberties. I mean, one of the reasons we say Russia has a strong state or China has a strong state is because they don't trust them. They don't trust their people to make the right decisions, and people don't always make the right decision. But there's also sort of a competition for the better one. And this is something that the Soviet Union never understood. In fact, the Russian Empire before the Soviet Union never understood. There were very brief moments when Russia had a potential to go that direction into plurality of opinions. And then just Putin coming out of KGB, he doesn't even think that there is a potential for people's voice to be heard, and it can be useful to his own governance. And I think it absolutely stopped. And I wrote about this 2020 when he held this sham referendum, and now he can be leader for life. He can't stay in power elected. I mean, it's elected is not really the right word, but he can continue to be to have elections, so to speak, to stay in power until 2036. I mean, we won't be alive by then, but he still may be around. And I think that's his weakness, because they never know, the dictators never know how to get off the stage. He overstayed his welcome very badly right now.
General Twitty, good morning. It's Jonathan Lemire. U.S. official a week or so back, looking ahead to May 9th, said it'd be hard for Putin to hold a military parade since all his tanks are blown up back in Ukraine. And certainly it was borne out a little bit today, a much smaller commemoration than we're used to seeing. But of course, the fighting continues. And I want to get your sense of it as you've been studying it, what you're seeing there. Is it indeed still a slow escalation there in the Donbass with mostly long-range shooting? What could be next? What sort of timetable do you see the Russians could have if they were to make a more aggressive push in the region?
Yeah, thanks for having me this morning. I see a couple of things. Number one, we talked about the performance of the Russian army. They're still underperforming. If you look at how they're coming down from Kharkiv down to Izum, they're having logistics problems there. They're not able to mass. They're trying to get to a point where they can take the forces out of Mariupol and envelop the Ukrainians that's there in the defense in the Donbass. That is not happening, and the reason that's not happening is because those brave soldiers there in Mariupol are holding the Russian military at bay there. And so as long as they continue to hold, the Ukrainians can continue to have agility in fighting the Russians. Obviously, the Russians, they're going to move to their favorite operation, that is to use artillery and missiles first. They continue to use that as a first rate of fighting, and then follow behind trying to push forces into Donbass. They have been able to have limited, and I say again, limited success in some of the areas in the Donbass, but this is going to continue for a while. And the reason why it's going to continue for a while is the Russians are going to continue to push forces in there and going to continue to grind through this fight. Putin doesn't want to see himself as a loser here. And as long as the Ukrainians can move with agility and continue to fight as well as they are, they'll be successful here.
Yeah. Hey, General, I want to get your insights on what the White House is upset about from my reporting, what CIA Director Burns is upset about, what a lot of people in the intel community is upset about, and that's the leaking of the stories that the United States had anything to do with intel that may have led to the killing of generals and also the sinking of the flagship of the Russian Navy. How concerning was that to you that that information was leaked?
It's very concerning on a couple of fronts, Joe. Number one, it is a national security threat for us whenever we leak information. And also in terms of our sources and methods, we want to be able to protect our source. We want to be able to protect our methods. In this case, when you have leaking of information, you put folks in vulnerable positions and you put this nation in a vulnerable position. So hopefully we will not have that in the future occur.
Yeah, Nina Khrushcheva, just in getting into Vladimir Putin's head, if that's possible, is there any outcome that he could accept that would actually stop this war? Everything I'm hearing is that this just continues for months and months and months, and perhaps NATO gains a win because they create stronger unity. They get more partners, and NATO is strengthened, and the EU is strengthened, and Ukraine perhaps becomes a part of EU. But Ukraine, I'm not hearing an outcome where Ukraine is taken out of this war.
Well, and we talked about it, I think, last time, is that what could be the outcome of this war for Putin. And I continue to insist that for Putin, it is a declaration of victory. And then it is his decision what it is a declaration of victory. So they take Mariupol completely and then becomes a declaration. I think we talked about the May 9th because the expectation was that by May 9th, something needs to be declared. But at this point, they're saying it's a slow process. We are getting what we're getting. And it does seem to me that they are essentially what they want to do now. And that doesn't mean that they're going to stop. But for now, they want to take the whole regions of Donetsk and Luhansk, where the regional territory was. I think they're now in Kherson. They're not planning to give it up. And then they are going to create some sort of no scorched earth or use no scorched earth policy, create some no man's land so they can see where the Ukrainians are coming. And that could be some sort of a declaration of victory because Donetsk and Luhansk and Kherson is now no longer part of the Ukrainian territory. It's the Russian, as they say, authentic territories, and we're going to keep them. That could be. But at the same time, the two takes two to tango, and Ukrainians are not giving up. So Ukrainians are not giving up, Russians are not giving up. And that can be continuous cycle for a long time.